Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. Um, this time around I am playing as the High Elves against the High Elves in a mirror matchup. The other High Elves being led by Masamoon. And honestly, with these comps, I'm not entirely sure what the goal was. It was a High Elf mirror matchup, so I decided to do a very spammy build. And my opponent definitely went for a bit of an interesting build. I'm not entirely sure if this was a randomly generated army or what he was thinking here. But regardless, definitely a bit of a fun match. So let's see how things break down and practice. So right out the bat, nothing too crazy. You can see there's going to be near instant deletion of an enemy unit. My composition, pretty straightforward. And like I said, I'm not entirely sure. This is a bit of a silly matchup, head to head. I think my opponent's army might have been random. But for my comp, I decided to run 5 units of spearmen. I went very wide with my infantry line. I think it would be a bit of a shootout if my opponent brought a serious build. So I did bring 2 units of Phoenix Guard just to kind of tank against high-end targets, provide that fear boost, and of course dish out a lot of hurt. And then 5 units of Spearmen spread out with 1 point of veterancy in each, spread out along the front line just to cover all angles. And behind that I have no less than 8 units of Archers. 2 units of Archers with light armor out here on the flanks, figuring that they'll be a little tankier if my opponent comes in from the sides. And the rest here in the middle I've actually maxed out normal vanilla Archers. 6 is the most you can field. Up in the sky my lord is a prince on a Star Dragon, just for that crazy high HP, decent armor, of course, decent mobility. I did put his abilities on him. He does have Blade of Belcor Hadris. I don't know how to pronounce that, but which gives him extra melee attack and armor piercing damage, which could be very nifty. And he also has the Bane Shield, which boosts his nearby allies' armor and missile parry, which I'm hoping could help my archers be a little tankier against enemy fire. For my opponent, he, like I said, not sure what kind of build this was, but he did bring Tyrion alongside a noble. The noble was mounted on a chariot, and Tyrion is actually on foot without any equipment. So definitely very cheap. Then over here in the woods, he does have 2 units of Silver Helms, one of them with shields, one without, and then a unit of Valyrian Reavers. Here his army is composed of archers, just vanilla variant, as well as Lothern Seaguard with shields. Up here in the sky, Great Eagle, Frostar Phoenix, 2 units of spears for front line, and Tyrnok Chariot, as well as Valyrian Reaver archers. So definitely what I think was a bit of a random build. But right off the bat, my opponent Vanguard deployed his Valyrian Reavers. And you can see how that goes for him, because they're going to be volley from the archers, lose about 2/3 of their models, and completely fall apart. And because I left auto fire on, they actually wasted a volley there. You can see how quick those archers are, though. Now I am pushing forward. We're going to throw things into fast forward a little bit, just as things kind of as I move up. I did see that my opponent has noble out here because the chariot doesn't get hidden in the woods. So I didn't know there was some shenanigans going around in the woods, but I didn't realize there was this cavalry here. So I'm pushing forward. And you can see this Phoenix Guard is actually weirdly getting strung out. I'm not entirely sure why. Actually, oh yes, I actually deployed them to face over to the right, expecting that noble to come around. And you can see this poor Tyrnok Chariot just takes a volley from those archers and completely falls apart in seconds. Tyrnok Chariot's actually very low armor, surprisingly. So definitely something to keep in mind. And here you can see the Phoenix and the Eagle dive down, but I immediately countercharge with my Lord, who smashes into the Great Eagle and basically takes him out almost instantly. Over here, these Illyrian Reavers and Silver Helms are crashing into the spears. Against the spears, they'd probably do okay, but not against the Phoenix Guard with their ridiculous stats. Even matching him on the charge, the Phoenix Guard will simply tear through him. In the meantime, I'm committing another unit of spearmen, and my archers are completely unmolested and just wailing away on my opponent, crushing through these spears, but the poor Eagle's already routed off. Unfortunately, the Frostar Phoenix does apply an AoE debuff to all units' melee attacks, so they're actually definitely struggling to hit it. This isn't exactly going it's not exactly going in one way for sure, because the spears aren't really doing much to it, and I can't really shoot it because the lore's in the way. In the meantime, though, I'm committing my Phoenix Guard. I'm committing these spears to tie down these enemy spears. Over here, you can see my archers are just annihilating the Lothern Seaguard. Now, what I definitely should have done here, if I thought both these units were the same, I just kind of glossed over it. I should have definitely focused out the archers over here. Lothern Seaguard, though, because they don't have shields, they would have gone down quickly, and then I could shift the fire to the Lothern Seaguard, who actually does less damage anyway, or has less range. Unfortunately for my opponent, that's not really going to save him. The shields, silver shields are great and all, but not against 8 units of archers wailing away on you. And you can see they're just going down like 9 pins. Over here in the meantime, the Froststar Phoenix is definitely being very tanky against my Lord, who despite popping Blade of Belk or Adris or whatever, is still struggling to hit it. Just not doing that much damage. In the meantime, over here, the Tyrannox Chariot does plow through some archers with light armor, definitely causing a bit of hurt, but it's okay. Tyrion being on foot is definitely struggling to get into position, and you can see these archers are just getting annihilated. It's a few volleys, and this unit has, for all intents and purposes, ceased to exist. Which only really leaves Tyrion and this block of cavalry, who surprisingly is holding out, despite being feared by the Phoenix Guard, despite being surrounded by spears, and they're getting basically annihilated. It might be thanks to this noble providing encouragement aura, but you can see the Silver Helms are basically wiped, and these guys will shortly follow them into the afterlife. I'm trying to shift these archers with light armor away a little bit, just to get into a better position. You can see Tyrion, despite not having a shield, because he does have 125 armor stacked on top of a built-in missile resistance of 15%. He's actually pretty tanky against the archers, especially because he's such a small model, so many of the shots are just missing. Now he does get a charge off against these archers, and you can see actually lands quite a nasty hit there. I lose several models instantly, but it's not really going to save him. Now I'm due to turn my Lord on him. I actually thought Tyrion's on a horse. I usually, I often get confused and think people just mount Tyrion on a horse and just kind of expect it. And it's when you're zoomed all the way out the way I play, it's a little hard to tell. But yeah, it was definitely very, very hard to hit him there. Regardless, that is the end game, and just a bit of fun. Was this for my opponent? I don't know what kind of build it was. Once again, I think it might have been a random build, but it was a fun match for sure. And just I think this is a decent build for High Elves. Honestly, against a lot of factions, maybe not necessarily. You don't always want to go so heavily into the archers, but definitely the archer spam is one of those things that the High Elves do very well. Just because their archers are dirt cheap, have crazy range, decent missile damage against anything with power armor, they will basically annihilate it in seconds. And their spears are tanky enough to where they can hold the line. Tyrion, of course, did some pretty solid, or not Tyrion, my prince did some pretty solid work on his dragon, just tying down those monstrous units. And yeah, for my opponent, nothing really did that well. It was a one-sided match. But I mostly just wanted to demonstrate this build, and I hadn't really gotten any great footage of it. On most of the games have been fairly, with this sort of build, I've been fairly one-sided, I think, and I definitely have been doing builds similar to this, and I think it's a very solid. I have another video of this with Dark Elves, and I definitely of a similar build. So I definitely think this is a decent way to build your army with the High Elves. So I kind of wanted to demonstrate it again, but it's been a bit of a struggle to get matchups you want. Usually people don't want to do mirror matchups, and Skaven and Lizardmen are very unpopular. So you end up most of your games peeing against Dark Elves or High Elves, or sorry, against Dark Elves, honestly. And it's a little unfortunate, but it definitely is what it is. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. Any comments, criticism, any questions about Total Warhammer or anything like that, be sure to post those down in the comments, and I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.